Alright, I have 10 minutes to make this video and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't really have anything scripted, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it. So if you've ever been on like Minecraft YouTube lately, you've noticed that there's all these like challenge videos that people make that get millions of views. And they're pretty fun to watch, How they're able to make those challenge videos though, they're very different from what I guess a typical challenge would be, because it changes kind of the mechanics of the game. Like things that you can't do normally vanilla. You have to add what are called mods to be able to, do these sort of challenges. So you can see right here, like some of the challenges that people have done, right? And so in this video, what I want to show you is kind of what steps you would take to basically create your own plugin and make your own challenges that you can play with your friends. So a little bit about myself. So to create a plugin, you obviously need to know a bit of programming. And for me, I love programming. Programming is just kind of like writing instructions to the computer, telling it to do things. And well, I love solving problems and I like seeing things kind of move and work. I'm also a part of the robotics club. I'm kind of the lead programmer for not just my team, but also just kind of to help the whole club. I'm pretty much the most knowledgeable person when it comes to software. And I could show you kind of some of the things that I do. So one of the things I've done in robotics is I've taught kind of the programming for this season. We've hosted a couple workshops in our club kind of about not just programming, because it is robotics after all. So I do have to go over electrical and kind of the other technicalities that aren't build related, I guess. I've also worked with kind of my own personal projects. I've worked with game engines. I've taken computer science classes already. In fact, this summer I'm taking a class at MSJC, so there's that. I've worked with 4-foot tall robots well, it was right before COVID. We competed in FRC. We had a new robotics team, Patronauts, but then that kind of all fell apart, kind of sad. So those are just kind of some things I've done. I just like programming and I like to pick up new things. I've also kind of learned how to make a Discord bot, and in this case, I've now learned how to create Minecraft plugins. So I'm gonna show you how I learned how to make plugins so that, well, I don't know, it's just kind of more of a watch and learn kind of thing, So let's get started. So to run Minecraft, you obviously need Java, but to write code in Java, you will need something else. So you will need what's called a Java development kit. I use kind of this version 8, and you can download it right here. I already have it, so I'm not going to go download it. One thing I should point out though is this: I'm doing this on a Windows computer. And if you have a Windows computer, great, you could probably follow along with this. So after we download that, we also need to download what's called an IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. This is what we will be using to program kind of our stuff, our plugin. So you can think of an IDE in the same way that when you write your essays, you use Google Docs. And what Google Docs has are tools like spell checker, grammar checker, and word count. That's kind of how an IDE works as well, where there are tools that allow programmers to write their code more efficiently, like syntax highlighting. We'll use Eclipse in this case. It's pretty much what everyone uses for kind of developing their mods. After we download Eclipse, we also need to download the actual kind of plugin software that we're going to use. So basically, Spigot has a bunch of built-in like code that we can use. So that's what we're using. So I'll actually download that right now. And then we're not going to actually open it yet. So we actually need to bring this jar file into a folder where we'll contain basically all our files for not just our plugin, but a whole local server that we're going to be running this plugin on. So we're going to be making a new folder, and we'll call this like tutorial server. So basically, we take a jar file, plop it right in, and after that, we're going to be running instructions on the command line. So you'll have to click on the Windows icon right here, CMD, and we'll be on the command prompt. And from there, what you'll want to do is you want to go to the location of where you've created this new folder. Okay, so an easy way to do that is we can just copy the path right there. I do need to change. So now we are at the specific path that we're going to run this line of code. So you'll want to type this into the command prompt. This will basically open the jar file and expand its contents. Although you will want to change this to be kind of the name of whatever this is. It's just kind of better if you just name this like spigot or something. So that's all you need to type here. And then this is the part where I talk over it as the footage is sped up. So it won't completely be done because you have to accept kind of the terms, the EULA. So you'll want to open this text file, change this to true. And then after that, we will run the command again. Now, it might be tedious to keep typing this over and over again. So what you can do is you can create what's called a bat file, which basically mimics the command line commands that you type, except you can just do it with a single double click. So I'll show that right now. We'll create a new text document. We'll name this run.text. We will change the extension in a bit. Once we go in here, this is where we'll just copy paste some of our code. So then we'll copy this kind of command line thing in here. You want to make sure that this is just spigot or whatever that name of that jar file is. We save it and then we'll change the extension. So from now on, we'll just click on this to run our server. So we pretty much set up the server, but now we're gonna get on Eclipse. So once we get into Eclipse, we'll create our new Java project. This will basically be our plugin. I'll just name it English Final Plugin. And when we go to here, we want to go to library and we want to make sure that we have the JDK that we want. After that, we want to also include our spigot.jar that we've downloaded from earlier. Once we're done, we can then start setting it up. So we're going to create a Java package. You can think of it as like a folder, and I'll just call it like this. Once we create our package, we can then create a Java class. This is basically where we're actually going to be writing our code, and I'll just call it test. Once we're in here, we need to type in this extends Java plugin. So basically, Java plugin is a Java class. Some of the things we'll inherit from it are the on enable and on disable. So basically, the lines of code inside the curly braces will run when the plugin is turned on and off. So let's type in this statement right here. So this is actually enough code for us to kind of export it and try it out. So we'll go here, we'll click on next. We want to check mark this. And then to select the export destination, we want to make sure that we put the path as the subfolder, the plugin subfolder right here. So we'll select that. We'll export it. And now we won't see anything in game, but we will see in the console that these messages will get printed out and in color. Okay, I'll cut this out and then I already have a recording of it showing up on the console. So another thing we want to include is kind of it's called a YAML file, and this will basically contain some of the information about our plugin. The most important thing that you want to include is the path to where Java plugin is. As you can see, we extended Java plugin here. So we want to type in that path and we can close it. And now, kind of the brick and mortar of these plugins are events. So basically, a bunch of things can happen in game, and when those things happen, you can run some code to do something. So let's create that kind of event class right now. So in this package, we'll create a new sub package called events. And in there, we'll create a new Java class. We'll just call it events class. And in here, we want to implement listener. This is basically more code that we are inheriting. First thing we'll include is the event on move. And we'll type it out right here, the player move event. Okay. And we also want to import that. So should be able to type that out as is. And we need to also fix the red highlight by importing it. Now in here, let's say when our player is moving, we want them to move faster. So what we can do is we can get information about the event. So let's get the player. Like, who's the player that is doing this event? Okay, after we do that, we can pretty much modify anything about the player that the API allows us to do. So we can also set the walk speed. And we'll set it to a speed of 1, which is basically faster than usual. I think 0.4, 0.5 is like normal walking speed, so this is faster. So now that we have this, what we can do is we can export this. And now we need to actually run our server, so we're going to run the run.bat. Now that we're in the world, you can see how we move much faster than usual. So I can pretty much just run away from everything. All right, so I guess we could do that, but we can do more. I'm actually gonna try something a little more interesting. Let's say that when we break a block, it will spawn a TNT. So we can do that right now. The first thing we need to do is to get the block that was broken. So we need to type in block equals event.getBlock. After that, we can also get the player who broke the block. And then from there, we can get the world that the player was in. We can then map out a coordinate in the world where we can spawn the entity, which is the TNT. So we have the location already, but now we need to type in prime TNT. And now this should spawn TNT wherever we break a block. Now you can see when I break a block, a TNT spawns. So you can pretty much just start placing blocks and break them, become TNT. There you go. So you can pretty much do all sorts of crazy stuff with this, but I'm pretty much just gonna end this off by replicating one of the challenges that a YouTuber has made, which was TNT spawning at their feet every 10 seconds. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So to save time, I already typed out the lines of code needed to spawn TNT. But basically the idea is this line right here, this really big like line of code right here is basically a timer, and it goes on every, well, right now it's 3 seconds. We'll change it to 10 seconds. There you go. So pretty much every 10 seconds, every player in the world is going to have a TNT spawn at their location. So let's try that out. So I found a server that I could upload my plugin on and have friends join. So I invited Jarek to join, who you guys may know. As you can see, it's quite chaotic. You know, it kind of works as intended and looks pretty haphazard to even try and play that in survival. But anyways, that's pretty much the end of the video. So I don't really have too much else to say other than thank you, Ms. Dove, for everything this school year. It has definitely been a difficult year, but we made it through. I'm really happy to hear that you got that theater teaching position at Liberty High School. Like, that's seriously awesome that you're able to do something that you're really passionate about, in the same way that I made this video about my own programming passion. And with that, I guess you could watch us mess around with the TNT stuff in the background. Thanks for watching, and have a good one. to write their code more efficiently, like syntax highlighting. All right, we're good. That's it.